I got to sneeze. I feel it coming. It's coming on.
Do y'all want to hear more about my childhood? Good.
That was powerful.
Wow.
My Lord.
You need
One
to
and
wipe
done,
your
baby.
microphone off.
I did this.
Wow.
Welcome to Access Sports Weekly here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson alongside Jeff Hart and a laughing Seth Chapman.
I hit the microphone and it just went nuts.
So, he is our producer, as usual, as we welcome you in here for another edition of the Internet's greatest show, Access Sports Weekly. On today's show, we're going to talk a little football. Of course, all football, actually, is Tommy Jones, Nick Garrett going to be on the show with us. We'll also take a look back at our Gaining the Edge segment. Seth's going to have his picks. Seth's picks will be coming up where he will pick out his favorite highlights. We'll talk about the top 3 games of the week, which, well, were difficult to find, and our Will Hart Team of the Week. We will announce it at the end of the show. Jeff, how you doing today?
I'm fine. Did you just say it was hard to find 3 good games from last
did.
week?
Just kidding. No, for this week.
Oh, for this week?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
There are a lot of games that have a lot of playoff implications.
That's true. That's true.
Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be good games.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There are, I think, 16 games to be exact in our coverage area that, few of them have some playoff implications or, region seeding.
Well, about a dozen have playoff implications. I'm not going to say there's a dozen good matchups.
Right.
But you got to win games like this week's games if you plan on being in the playoffs.
Seth, how you doing today?
I don't know why, but I'm just incredibly tired today. I went to the gym for like the first time in a while.
Oh, so
yesterday.
You've been working out, huh?
I have been.
Oh, yeah.
It's not showing yet.
Did you wear yoga pants?
No. No, I did not.
I don't want to see that. Wow.
I don't think anybody wants to see that. For once in a while, I'll agree with you, Jeff. No one wants to
I will
see
say
that.
this. You're newly married. If you wear those, you'll be newly divorced.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
I guess that would be newly then, so let's not go there.
Yeah.
Last week's action had some interesting games come about. Jefferson winning Region 8 3A a little early this year with a win over Monroe area. An interesting game there, 26-7 win where Colby Clark, I think he had over 200 yards rushing in that game. Branch, of course, falling to Marist 27-0 in a game over Flowery Branch that was closer than the score would represent at the end of the game. And, of course, in Region 7 3A, you look back at what Dawson did to Fannin County and, of course, Cherokee Bluff losing to GAC. 35-0 there. You might could call that somewhat of a win for Cherokee Bluff as far as defense goes.
Well, that's fewer points than I believe North Hall gave up.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that, that was, last year that would have been probably double that.
Right.
I think Cherokee Bluff has shown, and we're going to talk to Tommy Jones, they've already shown improvement.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what you're going to get with a second-year team. You expect improvement, but you never know. They were in a tough region. They had a tough non-region schedule. I believe we talked at the beginning of the year. It's like I think they could look a lot better and still not win a game because of the region and their just overall schedule. But they've been I don't want to say they've been a surprise from the standpoint that we didn't think they would win any games. I preface that on base of what I just said, but I think we thought they had the potential to win a game or two if they showed. But
right.
They won 3, 2 in the region, and they're still in the playoff hunt. And I don't think anybody would have said that.
Yeah. Well, one of the other interesting regions out there, Region 8 6A, you have the top 2 seeds kind of already, determined in Decula and Lanier, but you have Gainesville, Winder Barrow, Appalachia.
Hold your horses, young man.
Hab Central.
Look, young man, that's not true. Gainesville can still finish second.
They can.
They can. They have to win out, though.
They have to win out. They have to beat Lanier, and they'll finish second. So they're still in play for that
Absolutely.
second spot, no doubt.
Lanier's in, Decula's in.
Right.
That we know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we know.
Well, it's still interesting, though, if you look at the teams that are fighting for a playoff spot in that region with Appalachia, Hab Central, Gainesville,
and Winder Barrow.
And Winder Barrow.
Everybody's still alive.
So, and these teams play each other.
Yes.
So it's going to be Gainesville has Appalachia this week. They went to Winder Barrow last week. They held on, won that game 38-29 over Winder Barrow. And I think that's like their 9th straight win over the Bulldogs. But, Gainesville right now, they put back-to-back wins together. Their offense has put some numbers on the board. Any concerns you see with Gainesville?
Well, I mean, I think we were talking before the show. Consistency, I think, is what we need to see from Gainesville. We see the talent. They've kind of ridden the roller coaster. Last couple of weeks, they put some wins together. And they've done it with kind of how we thought they would, with that big offensive line, running the ball. You were impressed when you saw them last week with Johnny Williams, the quarterback, who's, he's had some up and down games. I don't want to say the offense flows through him, but, anytime you're the quarterback and you got the ball in your hands, and they do run a little bit of a read option, he's got to make good decisions.
Right.
I've seen a game where he made really good decisions against Mary Persons. I saw a game against Jefferson where he did not play very well.
Right.
The offense really sputtered. So, but again, I think they can lean on that offensive line. Give the ball to J.D. Brooks, Des Brown. They can even run Gianni.
Both performed, against Winder Barrow.
Exactly.
Gianni performed as well. He had a good game as far as passing and run. Well, had a good overall game with passing and running. So, Gainesville, they're poised to maybe knock off Lanier and knock off, beat Appalachia and take that second spot, which would be completely just a straightforward turnaround from last season.
Well, it would. That Appalachia game last year was 7-6. I believe there was a blocked extra point in that game. So I'm going to kind of expect the same kind of game this year. I feel Gainesville should win the game. I believe they've made more progress than Appalachia has. They have the big line.
Right.
They've got the running game. We talked about this. Defense, they need to improve. It's a different kind of Gainesville defense than we've seen over the years. Usually, they're fast. They hit hard. This year, they're a little bit bigger, a little not as speedy. And I think they've gotten themselves caught in some games. So I think that's going to be the key. And Lanier can match them on the line. We'll jump ahead a week. They can match them on the line. They've got Taj Barnes, big running back. They've got a great defense. They got a guy I believe is committed to Auburn already. I think another one to Auburn, or I forget. But they got their big linebackers already committed somewhere, SEC school, I believe. So Lanier's going to be the challenge, but you can set yourself up to look even better. Keep the train rolling, keep that confidence going, see if they can get a third straight win.
Well, Gainesville, of course, Appalachia this week will have that game for you live on 94.5 FM The Lake. You can check that out. So in the show today, we talked about having Coach Tommy Jones from Cherokee Bluff on the show. We have him via phone. And, of course, Jeff, you had a chance to talk to Coach Jones about the improvement of this program. The program is entering its final week of the season. If they could pull the upset over Dawson County, it puts them, in that region fight. But the other interesting fact about Cherokee Bluff, and I haven't looked at the power ratings, but as of last week, they were on top of those power ratings.
Well, they were. They're right in the middle. They may not even have to worry about the power ratings if they can find a way.
That's true.
This week, this is their season finale, so this is it. Dawson County, a team that has been on the rise this year as well. We weren't really sure what we had with them at the beginning of the year. They replaced so many offensive guys, but Zach Holtzclaw, who was our gaining of the edge player this week, 350-something yards last week, 5 touchdowns. So that passing game, which has been key to them over the years, is starting to come around. They had the running game. It's going to be and they're in Dawson at Tiger Stadium. That's going to be a tough challenge for Cherokee Bluff. But I did talk to Tommy Jones, and I asked him about the progression that they've shown. He said, yeah, we've made progress. But we asked him about this game in particular, since they're in the middle of the playoffs. Why not ask him, what he thought? And it is a must-win for the Bears. And, we talked about the matchup this week with Dawson County.
Yeah, it is it's a must-win, and we're playing against a really good opponent. Dawson County seems to be improving. When you watch them from week 1 until right now, they are considerably better than they were earlier in the year. Coach Maxwell does an outstanding job. Those guys are well coached. They play extremely hard. they they play football the way that I think it's supposed to be played. I mean, their offensive linemen are aggressive and physical and stay on blocks, and their skill players have the ability to make tackles, but they just play so hard. And then defensively, I mean, they're as good as anybody in our area.
Interesting to hear him talk about not just his own team's improvement, but also Dawson County. I think this is an interesting matchup. I don't want to say it's a complete contrast in styles because Dawson has been running the ball a lot more the last couple of years, but with the emergence of Holtz calling that passing game, that's going to give them a little extra. I think it gives Dawson a little extra advantage as they can go to the air if they need to. But Cherokee Bluff, I saw them in that Johnson game, and their line looked pretty good, and they ran the ball, and they've shown that they can run the ball. And Jaquan Smith is a breakout player this year. Not just for them, but for the area. I mean, he's close to 1,000 yards for Cherokee Bluff. So if Cherokee Bluff can run the ball and kind of control the line, I think they have a chance in this game. But I do think it's going to be an up. I think this is probably other than GAC, this is probably their toughest game that they've had in say the last month or so.
Well, it's good to see the Bears though that. Second year program, the improvement that they've made, the strides that they've made. You're talking about Jaquan Smith, a kid who back-to-back weeks over 200 yards rushing. I mean, he's just a sophomore. He's there's a lot to build on at Cherokee Bluff. So,
I think it's fun to see them.
Yeah.
They're whether they can win this game on Friday, I'm not going to say it's irrelevant, but I think it's just fun. It's good for the community, good for the program, the kids there. I mean, even if they don't win this game, there's a lot to carry with them into next year. And if they somehow are able to knock off Dawson County, they're right in the middle of I mean, they're going to need some help.
Right.
But they can still get in the playoffs. Which is interesting because we were looking at the power rankings, and they had been leading, but now Adairsville.
Adairsville has taken over that in Class 3A because of Region 1, who has 4 teams. The Georgia High School Association has made a power ranking for 3A. And with that, meaning that an at-large team will get into the playoffs based on their power ranking. Well, to come about your power ranking, it's plus this and plus that, and you get credit for your opponent's wins and stuff like that to make that power ranking up. Well, Adairsville so happens to have 3 teams in their region that are 7-1 at this moment. So,
and that is the difference in a half a point for them compared to Cherokee Bluff.
Exactly. And so Adairsville at this moment, even though they sit, it looks like, 5th in their region, 4th, 6th in their region, or tied for that, they are right now, according to the Georgia High School Association, on the day that we're recording this, they have the best power rating overall. So that's kind of interesting to see how that goes with what Adairsville has at 10.25, and then, of course, Cherokee Bluff is right at, I think, 9.6, and 9.66, sitting in second spot for the at-large bid in these power rankings. So there is an opportunity and a chance there for them, not only to get in the mix with an upset over Dawson County, but maybe they get in with a power rating. Time will only tell. Cherokee Bluff ends their season on Friday. They're going to have to kind of their season, but the regular season is over for Cherokee Bluff on Friday. So they'll have to sit for a week to wait and see what happens down the road. If they do beat Dawson, what happens Dawson North Hall? How does that work up? And the other teams that play that week in Region 7-3A?
Well, I think what will happen, Bo, is I believe it's going to come down to Fannin County, and I believe they finish with GAC.
Mm-hmm.
So if Fannin County loses out and Cherokee Bluff wins this game, because they're going to have to finish ahead of Fannin because Fannin beat them. They'll have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So, and Fannin right now, I believe, is sitting at 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
So if they lose out, they're 2-4. Cherokee Bluff wins this game, they're 3-3.
Right.
So they're going to be the biggest. If Cherokee Bluff is able to win this game, they're probably going to go down and dress in like GAC colors and be rooting. But I think it's just fun for them to be in the conversation.
Right.
I mean, even if they lose this game, I think it's fun that we're sitting here talking about a second-year program in the playoff hunt.
Right.
That we were not expecting them. I mean, I again, like I said, we weren't sure if they could win a game with their schedule. Then they won a game. It's like, well, then they won a region game. And so here we are. I think it's kind of fun. I mean, we weren't really sitting here thinking on the last game of the season for Cherokee Bluff that we'd be talking, they have a shot at the playoffs.
Right.
So that's fun.
Well, of course, we're here at the time of the show. And, of course, that game, by the way, before we move on, Dawson at Cherokee Bluff game will be on AM 550 WDUN this week. You can hear Brian and Gene and Horace with a call of that game. Of course, now, time of the show, the fun part of the show, which this whole show is fun anyway, but the fun part of the show is we're going to throw it to Seth. Seth with his picks of the week. And Seth, again, doing a great job with our highlights on Access. What you got for us this week?
We got some really cool stuff. I was over at Flowery Branch. Really interesting game. It just, we got some really cool stuff from Flowery Branch.
Yeah.
Got some great stuff from the White County Denmark game, and also some stuff here and there from the Gainesville Winder game. So got a lot of cool things coming from there, and I hope you guys enjoy this session of Seth's Picks.
Seth, man, you always pick some good ones out.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so that's why we let you do this.
Yeah.
'Cause you're so good at it.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
My favorite one was one of them that was in that group of edits that you had in there.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the incredibly generic compliment.
I'm just gonna laugh at that one, Jeff.
I was just seeing if you were paying attention.
I don't know why, but like when you were saying that I was doing a good job, I really wanted to just pull the Michael Scott quote and just be like, "My heart soars with the eagle's nest."
Oh my God.
Man.
Look, any Michael Scott reference is going to enhance the show.
Oh yeah.
Enhancement.
So you're good. You have Michael Scott. You're okay to throw a Michael Scott anytime you want.
Then I'll keep doing it. I'll do it more often.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's just cut that whole part out.
Okay.
Well, week 11 is here, as we've talked about all show. Two more games of the regular season. A big game also coming up is the Riverside Commerce game this week, and you had a chance to talk to Coach Nick Garrett at Riverside to get his take on the season for the Eagles, which has not gone as expected.
No, which I think is kind of a testament to where they've gotten to. They're 4-4, and I think even they're a little disappointed at where they are. This was slated on the schedule. This was going to be for the sub-region championship.
Mm-hmm.
Neither Commerce nor Riverside will be involved in the sub-region championship because Hebron beat them both.
Right.
So the sub-region is done, basically. So that's kind of disappointing. However, Commerce is pretty much entrenched in the Class A public playoffs. They're 13th. Right now, they're fighting to see if they can get back in that top 8 and get a first-round bye and then a home playoff game. Meanwhile, Riverside, at one point in the season, they beat Johnson. They were number 4 in the Class A private power rankings. They've dropped all the way to 26.
Yeah.
They are not, if it started today, they're not in the playoffs. Huge, huge game for Riverside if they want to get back into the playoffs, because they're still going to have the crossover game, but the problem is the further they drop, the lesser team they get in the crossover game, which may not help them in the power rankings. This is a monster game. It's almost a must-win for Riverside. And I did talk to Coach Garrett and kind of asked him, kind of what's been the difference a little bit here in the last few weeks where the offense has kind of sputtered, the defense hasn't been playing as well. They got knocked off by Lakeview, which was just a complete stunner and shocker for all of us who really thought that was kind of I'm not going to say a gimme win, but they should have won that game. So I did talk to Garrett, and he was pretty candid about what he saw as maybe what the issues have been this year.
We got to compete. We just got to be more competitive across the board. Last year we had, a lot of that senior leadership. They carried the load and understood how to get after people. Right now, we just don't have that within us. We're trying to figure out how to get that to get us over the hump. We're still relatively new, and we're still trying to figure it out. I know it's a little bit late. We're still trying to put the pieces together for a complete game. We just got to get tougher. We've got to be mentally and physically tougher.
I don't know about you, Bo, but I found that very interesting. That I don't want to say he was calling out his team a little bit, but I think he was maybe trying to say, look, guys, you have to win it a little more than we want you to win it. The coaches want them to win, and it's the coach's job to put them in a position. And it was just kind of interesting. We didn't hear the entire conversation I had, but it kind of went back almost to the Johnson game. Kind of felt like that they just kind of lost their mojo a little bit. Mm-hmm. They beat the Big 5A team. They're ranked number 4. I'm not going to say they rested on their laurels, but they really haven't. There's just been something missing. But they did have a lot. The other part of the conversation that we didn't really get to is they had 11 seniors that graduated. And I asked him, how big has that been? And he goes, well, they leaned on those seniors a lot last year for experience and leadership. And I think that might be the small little missing ingredient. They just don't have that kind of leadership on this group this year. There's plenty of talent. Hey, when I talked to Michael Brown. Michael Brown said they might be the second most talented team in all of Region 8A, which is saying quite a lot.
Well, regardless of what they have and what they do, it's a must-win for Riverside. If they want to get to the playoffs, they're 2 spots out of the top 24 at this moment. And, Commerce has a great record. It's going to help them in the power rankings if they knock Riverside off. Of course, Commerce 13th in the power rating. So.
And Riverside beat them last year. So they know the blueprint to do it. They get them at home. Can they do it again?
We shall see as Commerce and Riverside. Commerce actually travels to Riverside this week. Another game on the radio for us is the North Hall game, North Hall, East Hall. East Hall travels over to North Hall. You can check that game out on FM 102.9. Now, Gaining the Edge segment. As usual, we like to throw in just a little highlight of our Gaining the Edge segment with Zach Holtzclaw, Dawson County's quarterback. We had a chance to go over and talk to Zach and Coach Sid Maxwell just about Zach's play. The sophomore quarterback, a big game last week against Fannin County, a 51-7 rout of the Rebels. And, always fun to go over to Dawsonville, talk to Sid Maxwell, sit down in the field house and just see what's going on. And here's a little piece of what we found out.
Well, he again, he started his debut in middle school being a running back, big fullback, and quarterback started 9th grade. We'd alternate him at quarterback and just started that, and really didn't, I probably saw Zach more as a linebacker, to be honest with you. But he just throws a nice pass, and his pass is on target. It's an easy ball to catch, and he knows when he has to throw it hard, and he knows when he has to lay it up. So I think that's way ahead of his time, as considering where he's at right now as a sophomore.
I mean, Coach LeBlanc, he's the one that helps me. I mean, I've only been playing quarterback for 2 years, and he pushes me every day to get better, and that's why I'm where I'm at right now.
Of course, Coach Maxwell talking about, the progression of Holtzclaw and the fact that he was a fullback and linebacker in middle school and has started transitioning to the quarterback in 9th grade and now is starting quarterback as a sophomore for the Tigers.
Well, the most interesting thing to me is the fact that he's got a bushier beard than you do. I mean, he looks like he's wise beyond his years, does he not?
Yeah, I mean, he does. And One of the interesting things that Coach said about Zach is the way that he throws the football, and that he knows he's ahead of his time. That's what he said. Zach is ahead of his time. As far as talking about being a veteran on the team, that he throws a good football and he knows when to lay it up, and so just a progression going to be made by him. And in Dawson County over the years, they've not had to struggle at the quarterback position because they've had so much stability. And then this year there were a lot of unknowns, and I think Zach's really stepped into that role and proved that he can do it.
Well, last week's definitely proved 357 yards, 5 touchdowns. And again, like we mentioned earlier in the show, that when they can get that passing game back, like they had with Coley Watson a few years ago when they went to didn't they go to the Elite Eight?
I believe so.
I believe so. And they've had the running game, so if they can get that passing game back up to where it was, it makes him an insanely dangerous team in the playoffs.
No doubt. All right, Jeff. So top 3 games of the week. I've laid them out here because these have big implications. We've talked about all of them in the show, but top 3 games: Appalachia, Gainesville again. That's on 94.5 FM The Lake. Dawson County at Cherokee Bluff. That game will be broadcast live on AM 550 WDUN, and then Commerce at Riverside. Looking at the top 3 games of the week, you and I, we've hashed these out here in the show, but I don't know if there's one any more important than the other here, Jeff.
Well, no, they all got big playoff implications. You got 2 of those teams are just almost an absolute must win. Gainesville really needs to win because they got Lanier to finish, and you don't want to lose this week knowing that I got to beat Lanier or get help.
Right.
So it's an almost must win for Gainesville. They can get in without winning this game, but I don't think you want to have to play Lanier, who's number 5, and they were semifinalists last year, going, I got to beat them to get in.
No doubt.
I just don't think you want to have to do that.
So now you've been waiting this entire show for the Will Hart Team of the Week. Yes, we are to that segment as we wind the show down here, Jeff. And, there's 3 teams here on the list. So I'm going to throw these out to you and see what you think.
Okay.
Gainesville beats Winder-Barrow. They've won 2 straight.
Okay.
Dawson slams Fannin. Jefferson beats Monroe area, wins the Region 8 3A title. What's your pick?
Wow, it's all pretty good. I think I'm going to have to go with the Jefferson winning region title. That was because they've been impressive the last 3 weeks in how they've gone on to win their first region title since 2016.
Shockingly enough, I'm going to agree with you on that, and for the simple fact that Jefferson was not picked to win Region 8 3A, and they have ran through it so far.
Totally run through it. I mean, they've left carnage in their wake.
Yeah.
So
no doubt. So they win the region title with a win over Monroe area with.
So we didn't have to go to Seth.
No, we didn't have to go to Seth. No.
Wow.
I am rendered useless in this moment.
They host
as
Jackson.
you are on a lot of times.
Boom, boom.
How about that for useless, Jeff? How about that?
Your mic has been cut, Jeff. It's you this week. Yep. So Jefferson, they'll host a rival Jackson County.
You don't have
County.
to act like you're whispering. It's off.
It's off.
You can't
Yeah.
speak.
You can yell and nobody will hear you through your microphone. That's exactly right. So
nobody's coming.
let's wrap this show up with your favorite Halloween candy.
Oh, has to be Snickers.
That's because your diva moments.
Bo, what about you? What's your favorite?
Mine is, shockingly enough, Snickers. It's been it's not my favorite Halloween candy. It's my favorite candy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
There's nothing like a Snickers bar.
It's kind of like when you need something to eat and you're rolling through the convenience store and you can't figure out what you want to eat. Just get a Snickers bar. It takes care of a lot of things.
When you're wrestling, and I wrestled in high school, Snickers bar right before the match. Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, you get.
So Seth, what is yours?
I've always been very fond of a Crunch bar. Always been very fond of a
So you like
Crunch bar.
Kit Kat? Oh, the Crunch bar.
Nestle's
Crunch
Crunch
bar.
bar.
Nestle Crunch bar.
That's like the thing
I
that's
was just
actually
thinking,
the
the
Crunch
Nestle
bar.
I was thinking
Crunch
you
bar.
like candy bars that crunch. So I'm thinking
Kind of like
well,
the Bo Wilson and the. I'm not going to
So
say.
you like the Crunch bar, huh?
I do. I'm a big fan.
Is it the crunch or is it the chocolate?
But it's the mixture of both.
As they say in
you couldn't do
Ratatouille,
one
the
without
symphony
the
of
other.
crackle.
Yes, it's perfect. Crunch Bar is great. That and Twix.
So-
I'm a good fan of Twix.
So I told
It's also got the
Sophie,
crunch in there.
my 7-year-old, when she went to the trunk or treat, she knows she always comes to me, or for the last 3 years, she said, "Dad, what you want me to get at the trunk or treat?" I'm like, you know by now.
She gets candy for
Yeah.
you?
She's like, you want Snickers? I'm like, yeah, just grab a handful of them. So she goes to the trunk or treat, and guess what?
You get a bunch of
hands
Snickers.
full of Snickers. So,
The little ones are like the full Snickers bar.
well, they're the fun size and the little bitty, squares. But hey, that's good, man. It's good.
Oh,
yeah.
And then
That's good
when she
stuff.
goes trick or treating again, there's that 30% dad tax, the candy tax.
I'll have to take advantage of that whenever I have kids. 30% dad tax on
30%.
Halloween.
That's
candy.
right.
What?
Thank God he's not in government.
I make the rules here.
There was I was doing videography at a wedding not too long ago. I don't think I've told this story yet, but there was this little girl who was telling me that when she grows up, she's just gonna go before Halloween or on Halloween night. She's just gonna go buy a bunch of candy and then not give it to any trick or treaters and just eat it herself. I laughed and my response was, "Oh, sweetie, when you're an adult, you can do that on a random Thursday if you want to."
You can do that every day of the week.
Also, go after Halloween. The candy's cheaper.
Yeah. How cheap is candy? Does anybody know? Like the
After
bags?
Halloween
like the
and-
bags you get.
I don't know because
yeah, you can get those big bags and you can also after Valentine's Day, you can always go after those big holidays that involve candy. You always go to the store and they're trying to get rid of all that extra candy, so it's super cheap.
you know me, I'm cheap. I wait until I intentionally have a diva moment, knowing you're going to bring me a Snickers. So you
will not get any of my Halloween Snickers.
You are
you're
my go-to. You're my go-to. I have no idea I haven't paid for candy in years.
Yeah.
I just wait for you to give me some.
Yeah, well, hey,
That and gummies on Friday nights.
yeah, gummies.
I bogart so many gummies off of you, dude. Off of you, Bo.
Well, have a happy and safe Halloween, kids. We hope you get a lot of candy. And if you got any extra Snickers laying around, just bring them by the station. They will be taken care of, I promise you.
Just bring them to the sports office. Lay them on either desk. Will be good.
Either desk. Just lay them in there and just, whatever. We'll take them, folks. So,
And if you have that odd Nestle's Crunch Bar,
yeah.
Seth is right across
Seth
the
likes
hall.
Nestle's
Right here
Crunch.
for your crunch bars,
Yeah.
guys.
Actually, I'll bring you some Crunch Bars because I don't like them.
Thank you.
I really don't like
Yeah, I'm
them.
not a
Thank
big
you.
fan
I
of
love
Crunch
crunch
bars.
bars.
Yeah. Well, cool. So, anyway, that's a
Them
wrap.
and kale, about the same.
No, I would eat a Crunch Bar over kale any day.
About the same.
Yeah, I really would. Although you need to start eating kale. It's good for you.
I like kale.
Yeah. It's also good for your memory.
What?
Yeah. See, that's a wrap for the show today. Once again, for Seth Chapman, our producer, and for Jeff Hart, I'm Bo. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.